They all have an intro. But now, say, I think where most of us are having the challenge is after the intro, what follows? That is where I think most of us are confused.
Which
With
intro?
what I was implementing after the literature review.
I'm not there yet.
The literature review, your first introduction. Yeah.
This here? I'm not here yet. I'm still in chapter 1. You mean
but I'm talking about Vincent's.
Vincent's work.
No, the literature review. Yes.
For Vincent's work. Okay, so let me go back to that one.
Yes.
This one here.
Yes, sir. Now,
so let's start at the beginning from the lecture review. Right here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Now, after he wrote about the intro, yes, he went ahead to talk about social media,
yes,
and the rest.
Yeah.
Now, sir, my problem is you said we should talk more about our problem statement and the objectives.
Exactly.
All right. So, sir, after he has written about the social media and all those stuff, is he supposed to continue with the problem statement, like he should talk about them, or he should have rather started with the problem statement before writing about the Twitter and those stuffs?
Exactly. No, but in this case, he's using Twitter to back up some of his problem statements. If you notice, some of these social media apps are talking about interactivity, which one of the problems that he mentioned.
All right. Okay.
You get it? So he's using social media apps to write about his problems stated on interactivity. So if you go through this, you notice that it's more about the interactivity point that he pointed out, or comment that he pointed out within the problem statement. The benefits of interactivity, what it has helped address in terms of bringing people together to share information back and forth. You get it? So he's elaborating a lot more on the interactivity point of his problem statement.
All right, sir.
We're good.
Okay.
Yes, that's what he's doing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There are various ways of going about it, but you just make sure they're capturing your problem statements. That's all. So when I pick your document, I look out for the problem statements. And then when I get chapter 2, I try to see if I can find those problem statements in your chapter 2. And when I don't see them, that's when I start writing nonsense on your, I started commenting all kinds of stuff on your document. Are we good? Yeah, so your entire report is supposed to revolve around your problem statement and your objective, nothing else. So if you start writing something and it has nothing to do with your objectives or your problem statement, please do not write it. It becomes off base. You just blabbing now. Are we good?
Yes, sir.
I only hear one guy doing most of the commenting. What about the rest?
So we are here.
And the rest, you're not saying anything at all.
So we are here.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I mean comment on something, not just say I'm here. You're here, so engage. We're part of the discussion.
Okay, sir.
Ask questions.
Okay.
Okay, mute your mics now. So yeah, so he's just using social media here to elaborate more on the interactivity part of his problem statement. Mute your mic if you're not talking, if you don't have anything to say. Okay? So Stephen, that's what's going on. All right?
All right, sir. That's it.
let's go back to these guys over here. Like I said, these guys have an issue with the objectives. Academia-wise, for the significance of study, they were struggling over here. So it's all about how does the system benefit these guys, the organization that you build a system for, academia, and then government. So let's talk about how does it benefit them? How? Like for government, would it bring revenue? Of course, would it increase work performance? Yeah. Now you can actually have a good way to basically manage employees and their attendance records. So when it comes to issues with performances, productivity, you can measure that from that system. You can tell who are the guys that are not performing very well because they have poor attendance. So that's how it will benefit government. Government can increase productivity based on that. Because we all know the government sector, most people just go to work anytime they want to. When they go to work, they don't even do much of any productive work. They clock in and out, they go for long lunch breaks and all of that. Hopefully the biometric attendance system would help, kind of like streamline some of these employees so they can be queried and for disciplinary actions or whatever, some decision needs to be taken about some of these issues because of what? The report that's generated from this system. Okay? So that's how it would benefit government. Now, whenever you review and do not put website addresses as a reference in your document, there's a Harvard way of doing this. So this is a poor way to reference, or this is a bad way to reference in text within your document. You should never copy and paste a whole website address ever as a reference in text. They should go in your reference page. Okay? So this is a no-no. These are the way you reference. These are in-text reference. It's an in-text reference. So if it's a website, there's a way to reference websites in text. Okay? Read your Harvard reference very well. It gives you all the examples of it, of how to go about with websites references, journal references, textbook references, and what have you. Okay? So those are no-no. Scope of study, put them in paragraphs. Like I said, minimize your bullet points. Okay, so yeah, avoid these. Avoid as much as possible your bullet points. Write paragraph instead. So I noted over here. Put them in paragraph, in sentence forms. The same thing. Avoid the bullet points. Write English. Express yourself. So the scope of the study, put them in a paragraph form. Limitation of the study, put them in paragraph form. Avoid these bullet points. Okay, get rid of them. All of these are no-no. Stop doing this. Write paragraphs, sentences. Write your English. We want to read about how you can articulate, points, build sentences, and what have you. This whole exercise is supposed to help you write better reports someday. When you get a job or you and your boss asks you to write a report, you're not going to be bulleting points for the boss, are you? He's going to fire you. So put them in structured sentences. Okay, guys? And then chapter 2.
I see.
Chapter 2, this was a guy that had that was using my dummy templates, subheadings. So key project statement of reference. Yeah, guys, that was supposed to be a guideline. Don't use that. Put your own stuff in there. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, put your own stuff there. Don't use more. That was supposed to be a guideline. What I gave you, the template I gave you, was supposed to be a guideline. So everything in there is just dummies. You're supposed to fill in with your material, with your own subheadings that relates to your topic or your project. Okay. So key project statements, one reference review. What does that mean? I mean, what does that mean? You know, key project statement, two reference. What does that mean? It doesn't make sense, you know. You're talking about you were supposed to talk about your biometric stuff. So talk about the biometric subheadings. So here you can define biometrics and their relevance. This what challenges they solve. You know, what issues they've addressed, how relevant they are to society, to businesses, to organization, to workflow, to work performances, what have you. And then start zoning onto your problem statements. You know, start zoning to them in various subheadings. So you can capture all of your problem statements within this particular chapter. Okay. So I wasn't so sure what this guy was going about. Like I said, in his, if you go through his problem statement, the key thing that I identified was security, safety, right? Remember that it was safety. It was identifying accurate, safe, and reliable technique to protect access rights. That was the only key problem statement identified. So I'm hoping that I can see this in chapter 2, right? Right, guys?
Yes, sir.
So as a supervisor, you want to see this been elaborated more with references backing them up, with people's ideas, people's point of views, other researchers' point of view, backing these statements up. Okay. Now I go to chapter 2 and watch. Let's see if they have anything to do with any of those information. Let me go through this. So research was carried out, blah, 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 and of any biometric system, and specifically of the RF system for use within working environments with the public and private sector and educational institution as well. Before comparing RF suitability with that of other biometric techniques, a choice of RF devices had been considered and consideration given to the role of identification or verification so that the best method of operation could be applied. Approaches to analyzing the captured images were also researched. An approach was chosen which could be tested in the context of this project, which currently available equipment. With currently available equipment, a measure of the performance had to be discovered and decided upon before benefits and concerns of RF statements could be considered. I have no idea what he's trying to say here, but let's move on and see. So let's go on to this one. Key priority. The success of a biometric system often depends on choosing the right biometric modality, but it hasn't been easy. Careful research that includes vigorous comparison of modality strength and weaknesses is an important element to help select the right hardware. Factors to consider in the comparison may include justification, convenience, usability, blah, 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 blah. There are many biometric modalities available, including fingerprints, finger veins, facial recognition, iris, voice, signatures, dates, and more. More factors must be taken into consideration when implementing a biometric device, including location security, acceptability, ease of use, and what have you. However, performance and cost may vary when taking into consideration the deployment requirements and environment as well. Choosing the right modality is important to maximize the full benefits from a biometric system. In designing an RF application, according to Newman, According to this, that's a reference over there, which is not done properly. I think it's supposed to be Newman. So this should be out of there. So that's the reference for Newman 2010. And then this guy, 2019, have identified 7 characteristics for consideration in any system which uses biometric authentication of individual. And he has tabulated that based on this Newman's write-up or reference. Okay. And then he goes on to another key statement again. Fingerprint identification is the method of identifying or method of identification using the impression made by the miniature ridge formations or pattern formed on the fingerprints. So I'm guessing all of this about how biometric devices are designed, basically. So let's keep going and see if we can find any of the problem statements here. So here he's talking more about the biometric, which is good. He's supposed to talk about them as part of the literature reviews, but also zone in on your problem statements, which I'm yet to see. The main 5 mechanics, the mechanical techniques for scanning, the same thing again. So still talking about what? Biometric devices. Problem statements, okay. To understand the role of our system, it is vitally important to understand the enrollment process and the difference between verification and identification. See, all of this is just terrible, you know? They can't even figure out exactly what he's trying to say. In enrollment, the RF system is capable of identifying a specific individual. So individual, primarily, blah, 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 blah. So I think it's about the security part, the accurate part. So this talks about the accuracy. So the subheading over here should actually be about let me go back to this. Should be about where are you? Should be about the accurate, identify accurate and safe. Should be about the accurate, identifying the accurate and safe and reliable techniques to protect access. I'm guessing that's what he's talking about over here on this part of the of his literature review. So I'm guessing this is all about that part, because I see issues with identification of individuals based on their fingerprints linked to a particular specific identification system or documentation. But the individual then presents the biometric to an acquisition device. Okay. So a number of stuff going on over here that talks about the accuracy part, which is good. So obviously it's capturing the that problem statement. It's just the subheadings which are completely off. That needs to be changed. What about this part? Okay, security over here, authentication wise. So that's another part of the problem statement that is captured over here. Verification as well. So that's good. Gives references to that. And talks about a reference by this guy by how they implemented it. Okay, so that's the verification process. And then over here, we still go on to talk about the same thing again. This part over here, let me see if I can get any, still on the verification part. Verification, matching, what else can I extract from here? That relates to the problem statement. Okay, so I'm guessing all of this is all about that line of problem statement that he pointed out. Now, what about this side over here? Trying to increase the metrics, security. What else? Storing and transmitting biometric. Okay. Okay, so it looks like his literature review, it's all related to that one line problem statement that he indicated. So that's not bad, you know, but he's also missing the reviews on existing systems. So it's incomplete. So he's not done with his chapter 2 yet. He's missing most of the reviews. He's supposed to review a minimum of 3 to 4 similar systems and their challenges that you are going to address in your system. Now, if you notice, he's captured a lot of stuff over here that he probably would be capturing within his objectives. Yes, a number of stuff he's captured over here are going to be all. These are what's supposed to be captured within the objective that he indicated over here, which was completely off the objectives. So what he could have done was actually write his objective based off some of the stuff that he pointed out in chapter 2 within here. So he's going to probably to implement an integrated system that would help with identification and verification, and also address issues that relate to computations within the security mechanisms. I'm just based off what is written over here, that's all. So those should probably be what he can use to write a better objective for his chapter 1. I have some few questions over here. Oh, it's only one, okay. Can we give headlines or titles such as key? No, don't use key. No, don't say that. Talk about, so if you want, like for instance, over here, so let me go to the top. So let me try to formulate a subheading over here. Like, so instead of using this, what you could have said over here, based on what I'm reading over here, it should be about, let me see. Systems when weakened environment. So this should have been identification requirements of biometric system. That should have been the heading over here. So identification requirement of biometric system, because that's what it talks about over here. If you read this carefully, you notice that it's all about identification of the requirements that relates to biometric systems and how they apply to working environments. Yeah, so that should have been the heading over here instead of this. Okay. So the guy that was asking a question about, no, don't write key fragile statements. One, no, don't write that. Those are dummies that I put across as templates. Do not use them. Use topics that relates your title, your prior title instead. So if over here you want to talk about identification requirements, then use the heading as such. So whatever you talk about relates to the heading. So over here, the same thing. Let me see what goes on over here. So we can identify the topic or the title, the subheading over here, sorry. So when he talks about a sources of biometric systems, often depends on choosing the right biometric modality. So here is supposed to be the modalities of biometric system. That should have been the subheading over here. Modalities of biometric systems. Because that's all that is paragraph is all about. What are modalities? Okay, so that should have been the subheading over here. Modalities of biometric systems. This one should have been identification requirements of biometric systems. Moving on. This one here, let me see what it's about. So methods of identification using impressions, blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to find key things that will help me formulate a better subheading over here. So here he talks more about you have to go through it very well because he's written a lot of stuff over here. Anyway, you get a picture, right? You guys get the picture. Whatever it is that you write over here, summarize it and formulate a subheading for it. So when somebody reads that subheading, they know what exactly you're going to be talking about within that subheading. Okay? I think I mute you guys because you guys were making some noises. Okay, so I have you guys unmuted. Okay, so yeah, use your own subheadings that relates to your topic. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Yeah, make sure your write-up, if you're going to write a whole paragraph over here, what is it about? Summarize it and formulate a subheading for it. So when somebody is reading a document and he gets that subheading, he knows that, okay, this guy is going to talk about that particular issues that relate to what? That subheading.
So say,
yeah.
So in a case, maybe I've taken one of my, what do we call it, problem statements. And I've paraphrased it to use it as my subheading. Okay, so can I write under, since you said we should talk more about our problem statement, so I'll take one problem statement and paraphrase it nicely to make it my subheading, then talk about it.
Exactly.
All right.
Keep in mind, subheadings are supposed to be what? 1 or 2 words, not a whole lengthy sentence.
All right.
I mean, if you go through documents, headings are just short words, right? Or short sentences, right?
Yes, sir.
Exactly. So the same thing you should do. So if, for instance, okay, so within his problem statement, he talked about accuracy. So you can say accuracy of biometric system. Then within all this paragraph, you are what? Accuracy, right? Everything you talk about has to be what? About accuracy of biometric systems. If you want to talk about safety, then you can say safety of what? Biometric systems. And then talk about literature that relates to what? Safety of biometric systems within a paragraph or within that subheading. Are we catching on?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Good. So that's what he should have done instead of writing all this stuff over here. Because it doesn't tell me much of anything else, you know? So anyways, that's it for this guy. Like I said, he needs to work on the other parts. He's obviously done a pretty good job with the accuracy, identification part, and other security measures that he mentioned within the problem statement. And he could have used some of the stuff in here to formulate his objective as well. So I'm going to design maybe a structured security system module that would help with identifications and accuracy and blah, blah, blah within the biometric system. I could have formed the objective at the top. He can formulate a lot of objectives from all of these that is written over here if he just spends the time to go through it properly. Okay, so that's this, guys. There's no reference.